Well, hello, 5th and 6th graders. We are finishing up Chapter 10 of Inkling, who is super scared of his dad's sketchbook. So let's continue on with that. Don't forget to answer the question at the end. During dinner, while Ethan ate, Inkling was eating too, and late into the evening he ate some more, soaring through all the books and graphic novels Ethan had picked out for him. By bedtime, Inkling was positively trembling with all these new stories. It was like he had too much coffee and couldn't sit still. Even as he read, little bits of him kept flashing out of the sketch, the people and the things he was reading about. "I think you probably had enough now," Ethan said, as Inkling finished the last title in the Kren series. He was worried that Inkling would explode if he read any more. Inkling sloshed about on the blank end papers, twitching and scribbling little words to himself and then erasing them. "Are you okay?" Ethan asked. "The world is truly filled with wondrous stories. Do you think you can come up with one? I will do my utmost." It was hard to know what voice Inkling was speaking in the moment. Ethan supposed it was a big, bubbly mix of all the books he had just absorbed. "I'm sure whatever you come up with will be great." Ethan got a fresh piece of illustration board and slid it under the bed. "Can I make use of color?" This is just a great picture of Inkling eating a comic. "Yeah, of course. The more the better." "Tremendous. I adore color. Do you need light under there?" "I'm fine." Ethan turned off the lights, but he couldn't sleep. Underneath his bed, a magical creature was drawing something incredible. He listened, but heard nothing. He couldn't remember if Inkling made noise when he drew. There was certainly no swish or squeak or a brush or a marker. After a few more minutes, he turned on his lamp and leaned down to look under his bed. Inkling was just resting on the board. He hadn't made a single jot yet. "What's wrong?" "Not a thing. I'm pondering." "Okay. It's not easy thing creating a story." "Sure, take your time." "Well, not too much time. Dad's got to snap out of this or we're going to all go down the drain." "Please be quiet." "Okay. Good night." He tried to sleep, but started worrying that Inkling wouldn't be able to do it. He asked too much. He had asked Inkling to do something overnight that his father hadn't been able to do in 2 years. But eventually Ethan did fall asleep. And at some point in the night, Inkling trembled and moved to the top left corner of the illustration board. A few tendrils reached out, flexed like they were limbering up, and began to draw. That same night, across the neighborhood, Vika was woken by the sound of her mom and dad talking in their bedroom. They weren't arguing exactly, but her mom sounded upset, and Vika sat up listening. "Really that serious?" her mom was saying. Vika missed the first bit of what her dad said, but heard, "Last 2 years, sales have been really bad. We're in debt." "But the house," her mom said. "Is it that bad?" Fear jolted through Vika. "What about the house?" She moved closer to the door so she could hear better. No, her dad said. "We're fine for now. I'm talking in a year or two." "What about Peter's new project?" "Yeah, if he ever finishes it," her dad said. "And it would have to be a huge bestseller. Sometimes I worry he might be—" Vika didn't catch the next bit and pressed her ear hard against the door. "He wouldn't do something like that," her mom said. "Who knows? He hasn't shown me anything in so long. It's been a very tough time for him." "It has, for sure. But for all I know, he's working on something for another publisher. Marvel's been after him for a while." Vika couldn't stand it. She paced the room. Hearing her dad sound all stressed out made her scared, and then it made her angry. Why was Peter Reliance just sitting around doing nothing when her dad needed a bestseller to save his company? Or was Mr. Reliance working on something for another publisher, stabbing her dad in the back? She tornado kicked the air a few times, and Peter Reliance wouldn't be famous if it weren't for her father. He was the one who published his first Kren book after everyone else rejected it. When she got older, she'd make her own graphic novels, and her dad wouldn't have to rely on Peter Reliance or any other of those wimpy artists that couldn't write bestsellers, or who'd missed their deadlines, or who got blocked. Vika never missed her deadlines. And there was definitely something weird going on in the Reliance house. She hadn't told her dad or anyone about what she'd seen in Ethan's room that night. She was almost 100% sure it was not her imagination, no matter what Ethan said. But she didn't know was that Ethan and his dad what they were doing. But she was going to find out. Chapter 11. When Ethan woke up, he was almost afraid to look under his bed. He lay there still for a few moments, hoping, and then reaching down, his fingers touched the board and pulled it out. He sucked in his breath. It was an entire world he held in his hand. The colors blazed. He gazed, was swept along through one beautiful image after another. It was wordless, but he felt like an amazing story was about to begin. It looked so much like his father's work that it was uncanny. "Inkling," he said. "Inkling?" He jumped out of bed and crouched down, and when he saw Inkling huddled on a pile of newsprint, he gave a small cry of surprise, because Inkling was a dingy gray color, as if he'd been diluted by dirty water, and it looked like he was shivering. This is one of Inkling's drawings. "Inkling, what's wrong?" "I'm just a bit fatigued." "Was it too much work? I'm sorry, Inkling. Let me get you some real food." He hurried around his room, dragging out the fewest uneaten comics from his drawer. Inkling needed color and energy, and from his bookshelf, Ethan also grabbed some books. He opened them all in front of Inkling, inviting him to eat. Sluggishly, Inkling moved on to the nearest comic. Like an ancient cat, he lapped out a pale tongue and lifted the ink off the page, and then he took another lick, a few more licks, and then he was still. He didn't look quite so pale now. "Thanks, Ethan." "Inkling, this work is amazing. You've done a fantastic job." Wearily, Inkling formed himself into a smiley face. "Thank you so much." At school that day, Ethan worried, mostly about Inkling. He seemed so exhausted. Before this, all he'd been doing was black and white drawings for Ethan's graphic novel. But what he created last night was a whole other scale. The colors, the sweep of it, and the beginning of the story that somehow Inkling had created all by himself. There was something he'd never done before. No wonder he was wiped out. Ethan was also worried about his father. Would he be pleased when he saw Inkling's work after school? He just hoped it would smash through Dad's castle-size block. All right, my 5th and 6th grade friends, here's your question. What do you think Ethan's dad's going to say about Inkling's brand new work? Is he going to like it, or is he going to, really throw a fit and be mad about it? What do you think? Bye.